Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm Larry Richard, your MC for this evening, along with Bill Hillgrove, who will join us shortly. We ask that you take your seats. We'd like to begin our program. My day job is I host the KDK Radio Morning News, but for tonight, I'm very honored to work with Bill Hillgrove, Pat Bostic, and Al Kailberger on the Pitt Football Radio Network, and we're excited about this Hall of Fame weekend. On behalf of the University of Pittsburgh and the Department of Athletics, we're pleased to welcome you to tonight's second annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony and dinner. A pleasure to be a part of this tremendous tradition, celebrating some of the best athletes to wear a Pitt uniform. It's also a pleasure to see so many of our former student athletes, coaches, longtime fans, supporters in attendance tonight. We also have some current student athletes in attendance who we know one day will be here and recognized for their hard work and dedication in continuing the tradition of excellence at the University of Pittsburgh. Before we proceed with the program, we'd like to first thank and recognize PNC Bank as the presenting sponsor for tonight's event. Thank you to PNC for the tremendous support of this elite evening. And at this time, we welcome Scott Colcom, Senior Vice President of Corporate and Institutional Banking, for a few words. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Colcom.
Thank you, Larry, and good evening, everybody. What a terrific occasion this is, to come together to celebrate the achievements of these great Panther athletes and coaches. And for a kid from Penn Hills that grew up watching Bill Fralick, Tommy Flynn, and later Tom Tumulty and Aaron Donald make their way to Pitt, it's a distinct pleasure and honor for me to be here to represent PNC and our 12,000 employees here in Pittsburgh. PNC could not be more pleased to be associated with this event. Like the athletes and coaches we honor here tonight, we expect excellence in all that we do, work together as a team to achieve our goals, celebrate our success, and are proud to be a part of this community. As the university's banking partner, we strive to be a part of the Pitt community. We have ATMs on campus, sponsor financial wellness programs for students, faculty, and staff, and provide tools and resources necessary to make banking easy. And on the athletic side, we're very excited about the direction that Heather has this athletic department headed. There is no doubt the Pitt sports teams look the best. Thank you for bringing back the royal and yellow. Am I right? But more importantly, thanks to Heather's leadership, you can see the caliber of coaches and athletes that want to be a part of what's happening here at Pitt and choosing to come here. It's only a matter of time before that plays out on the mats, the courts, and the fields here on campus and around town. To the Hall of Fame class of 2019, your performances as student athletes and coaches have left an indelible mark here. Your contributions have inspired us all, and the history of Pitt athletics can never be told without mentioning your names. Again, on behalf of PNC, thank you all for being here to honor this extraordinary group. And once again, congratulations to the Pitt class, Hall of Fame class of 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And as I say in my business, thank you, PNC Bank, the presenting sponsor. I know some people go, are you that guy? I guess I am that guy. And honored to be here tonight and excited. Under the leadership of Heather Like, Pitt Athletics Department continues to strive for the gold standard of excellence. With a group of phenomenal student athletes, dedicated coaches, an enthusiastic fan base, and a supporting campus community, Heather continues to drive excellence in order to take Pitt to new heights. It's an honor and a privilege to welcome Heather Like, Director of Athletics, the University of Pittsburgh. When I first met Heather, was on a spring football field at Heinz Field, and she was talking to Pat Narduzzi, and after I met her, I said, watching Heather Like and Pat Narduzzi is like watching Adam smash. Something big is going to happen. Heather?
Well, good evening, everyone. It is just an awesome honor to be here and welcome you to our second annual Hall of Fame dinner. I want to thank you for joining us and kicking off this Hall of Fame weekend. You know, it's a true honor and privilege to lead this athletic department and serve our coaches and student athletes every day. Events like this don't just happen. It takes a tremendous amount of leadership starting with our university and a tremendous team behind us all. And that starts really with our Chancellor, Pat Gallagher. Chancellor, thank you and Karen for your never-ending support of our vision to build Pitt Athletics into a tremendous source of pride for this university. We're grateful for both of you being here tonight. And to our Board of Trustees, I want to say your service and loyal support of Pitt Athletics is invaluable. I'm grateful for the relationships we've been able to build and develop, and I'm looking forward to continuing to build those relationships as we transform this athletic department. And I'd just like to ask Chancellor Gallagher and our current and former, all of our emeritus Board of Trustees to please stand so we can recognize you and thank you for your service. You know, as you all know, we embarked on creating our first ever Hall of Fame last year. And it's great to have new ideas, but the key is having a team behind the ideas to execute at the highest level. And that team started with our Hall of Fame selection committee. That group poured over 150 years almost of historic accomplishments and thousands of Pitt athletic athletes and coaches. I'd say year 2 was almost, if not harder and difficult than year 1 to select the best of the best who have worn the blue and gold. So would all the members of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee please stand so we can thank you for your hard work. You know, to our athletic department and to my athletic department team, I want to thank all the staff that planned this event and those of you who volunteered here tonight. You have made this night and this weekend come together so well. So thank you to my athletic department teammates that are out there. Tonight, you know, of the more than 50,000 Pitt athletes and coaches who have played or coached for the Pitt Panthers, we get to honor 12. So many of you here have witnessed the 12 individuals compete or coach in some of the most incredible moments in Pitt athletics history. So I'm thankful for all of those of you who have traveled many miles to be here a part of this night and recall those special moments. I am often asked, you know, what's the best moment of being the athletic director at Pitt? And, you know, many people say, oh, hiring a head coach, you know, bringing a head coach on, or winning a marquee game, or watching our students cross the stage when they graduate. But I will tell you, one of my very favorite days on the job every year now is when I get that list from the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, and they say to me, Heather, it's time to make the call. And over the phone, I'll just say that the reactions are priceless. The memories it invokes in these individuals are amazing, and our Hall of Famers are just extraordinary people. And one quick story, this year is unique because we have Sam Clancy, and he happens to be an athletic department staff member. And so I've had the privilege to work with Sam for the past couple years. And we pulled a little joke. Obviously, anytime Penny Samaya is involved, you know we're gonna have some fun. And so I'll just tell you, we had a chance to surprise Sam on his birthday, and he thought we were having a birthday celebration, taking time out to celebrate birthdays. We don't have time for that. But we were going to do this special celebration for Sam, and he and his wife, Terry, came. And, you know, the tears, I know, were of joy and tremendous memories. And for us to be able to tell you in person and honor you here tonight, Sam, it's a special night for everyone in the athletic department that gets to work with you. So I'll just say, you know, this class is legendary. No matter the sport and no matter the era, these student athletes raise the bar of excellence, not just here at Pitt, but at the national level, at the professional level, and in the Olympics. To our Hall of Famers, you gave Pitt so many unforgettable memories. And when you think about what it takes to become a Hall of Famer, you know, I think about 4 endearing qualities that you all embody that jump out to my mind. And, you know, the first is discipline. And you have proven the amount of discipline that it takes to achieve at this level, to balance the academic demands and the athletic demands and the countless hours and time that you've put into your sport. There's no question you can't do what you do without the discipline you display. And leadership, you know, it's funny, when you think about true leaders on a team and in an organization, really, leadership is about changing the direction of that program. And you all led your teams and made your teammates better every day and led them in a direction of success. And so you are all true leaders. And I'll say that, you know, excellence is really the third quality that I think about when I think about this group, because excellence shows up every day. It does not pick and choose when it comes to practice or comes to a game. And you guys all displayed the excellence necessary to achieve at the levels you have. And finally, you know, fourth, it's really about pride. You took pride in how you represented all of us here at Pitt. You had the discipline, you were the leaders, and you strove for excellence every day. And you created a true sense of pride for all of us here tonight and connected to Pitt. So I want to thank the Hall of Famers for reminding us why we do what we do every day here in the athletic department. You are a true inspiration to our current student athletes and our future Pitt student athletes. And as we celebrate our Hall of Fame class of 2019, I would like to remind you of a quote of one of Pitt's greatest coaches, Johnny Majors. Coach Majors, you said, "The first thing any coaching staff must do is weed out selfishness. No program can be successful with players who put themselves ahead of the team." And there's no question that tonight's inductees were successful because they there's no doubt that they were successful because they were unselfish and made their teammates better every day. So I want to congratulate each of you for being a part of this year's Hall of Fame class. And hail to Pitt.
Thank you, Heather. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'd like to take a moment to honor the late, great Bill Freilich, who was inducted into the 2018 Hall of Fame class. Joining us tonight is Bill's family, and please, let's give a warm welcome and round of applause to his wife, Susan, and members of the Freilich family who are present this evening.
Last December, the Pitt family lost one of its all-time greats, not only as a player, but also as a person. Bill Freilich's career at Pitt is well documented. A 3-time first-team All-American and the first offensive lineman to twice finish in the top 10 of the Heisman Trophy balloting.
Bill Freilich, University of Pittsburgh, offensive tackle.
This is Bill's 3rd time on the All-American. Let me tell you, that's great.
Legendary offensive line coach Joe Moore said this of Freilich: "If you can find somebody better, bring him to me. I've been privileged to coach some good ones here, but none better than Bill. Freilic's number 79 Pitt jersey was retired in 1984.
I just like to thank whoever had anything to do with my jersey being retired to think of me in that company. It was just a great honor.
Bill went on to an exceptional NFL pro career, playing 8 seasons for the Atlanta Falcons. Over the years, Bill returned to his hometown to help me call Pitt football games from the radio booth.
Bill Freilic was not only an all-time player, but he was an all-time human being. His generosity, support, and concern for others was unmatched. Bill leaves a lasting legacy, not only at the University of Pittsburgh, but with Penn Hills and all of Western Pennsylvania.
We are all thankful for Bill's many contributions to our university and the entire Pittsburgh community.
We miss you, Bill. And before we induct the new class, we'd like to also recognize the greats from 2018's inaugural Hall of Fame. Please stand as I call your name and we welcome you back to campus here tonight. Kathy Stedler, swimming. Kathy. Dan Marino, number 13, football. Billy Knight, men's basketball. And the great Tony Dorsett. Tony D, thank you and welcome home. Please enjoy your dinner and we'll induct our new class shortly. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention? We hope you enjoyed your dinner and are enjoying your dessert. We're ready to start the program. Let's hear it for the folks, our servers here at the Peterson Event Center. Thank you all for your work here tonight. And please join me in welcoming 2018 Hall of Fame inductee and chair of the 2019 Hall of Fame committee, Pitt's great, Billy Knight.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be back at Pitt and see so many of my friends, so many great athletes. Congratulations to this year's inductees. It's a very well-deserved honor. It's a great class of athletes, and it's also a great class of people. Sure, they're great athletes, but they're also great people. And I think that's the story and the history of Pitt. There have been so many great people, and that's what makes the university so special. I know for me, from Braddock, my good friend and lifelong mentor is here, Coach Gergerich, who coached me, recruited me. He and Frankie Gustine together, probably the things they were introducing me to would probably be illegal nowadays on the market in the world of basketball recruiting, because I think I met him when I was in the 7th or 8th grade, so I don't think you're allowed to do that. But Coach Gerg has been with me for years, and he's a lifelong friend and mentor. Other friends and relationships that I've made, and that's, again, what bolsters my love for the college, is my longtime friend and confidant, Tom Booth. He and his wife, they've been instrumental. Tom was the manager of our team, and he knows secrets that he could never tell. He said he would never tell anybody because he wanted to keep living. So, other lifelong friends I've made, Kirk Bruce, Carl Morris, they were teammates of mine here at Pitt. And these are the reasons why I love Pitt so much, is because of the people, because of the relationships. And I'm sure the inductees this year will have similar feelings, similar thoughts. The man with the golden throat, Bill Hillgrove, I told him after I retired, I said, I wish I'd become an announcer like you. You guys last a lot longer than players. So I've had my knee replaced. He hasn't had his throat replaced yet. So he's still strong as ever. I'm hobbling. So it's just a great situation, and I appreciate and love the university, and I love the people that have made the university, and I'm really honored to be here. Chancellor Gallagher and Heather, you guys starting this and doing this for the athletes, because like I said, they're great athletes on the field, whatever field they were in, but they're great people, and we really appreciate you guys stepping forward and bringing this to the college. This is a great honor for you to do it. Thank you. And the only other thing I want to say is hail to Pitt. Thank you.
This is a little unkosher, but if you don't mind, people won't believe I know you. Would you mind?
Okay. All right.
Can you stand up tall? It means so much to me. Thank you, Billy. I'm 6'5", so I don't know how tall Billy is. Man. Billy mentioned Bill Hillgrove, and we want to recognize Bill Hillgrove now in his 46th season as the voice of the Panthers football. 51st season for basketball just around the corner. And Billy and I worked together in the late 80s. I produced the games for 4 years, and I want to thank John G. Conamikes, who had the vision to give a young broadcaster a chance. Thank you, Mr. G. And thank you, Billy Hillgrove. He's going to have a Q&A opportunity with our inductees here in a moment. And now, the much anticipated time you've been waiting for. It's my distinct honor and privilege to introduce the distinguished members of the 2019 Pitt Athletics Hall of Fame class. These members are composed of all pros, all Americans, and legendary all-time greats. We start with first honoring our two Panther greats who are receiving their Hall of Fame induction posthumously. First up, Charlie Hyatt. Charlie is one of Pitt basketball's greatest players who starred during one of the program's most successful periods.
For Charlie Hyatt, this is a richly deserved honor and very much a long overdue honor. He really is one of the founding fathers of Pitt basketball.
Well, Charlie Hyatt was the first great player in the Doc Carlson era, 27 to 30.
Doc was the master of the figure-8 offense. I am told Charlie Hyatt had that innate sense of when to break the figure-8 and go. And he could pass it, he could dribble it, and so he was a double threat in that regard. And he was perfect for that offense.
When Charlie Hyatt played, Pitt played its home games at the old Pavilion. It wasn't even a sign or anything designating it as such, but it was just called the Pavilion because it was beneath Pitt Stadium between where gates 1 and 3 would have been.
Playing 3 years under the legendary Doc Carlson, Charlie was an All-American all 3 of those years. He scored what was then an exceptional 880 points. Not only was he very decorated as an individual, but he led Pitt to 2 national championships.
He led the nation in scoring one year with 12 points a game, which demonstrates how different the game was back then.
He's enshrined in the Helms Athletic Foundation Basketball Hall of Fame and also was elected to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame.
From what I hear about Charlie Hyatt, he had a complete game. Offense, defense, knew how to defend, was enough of an athlete to be able to take his opponent and control him.
Very good shooter, just an outstanding player, and really the first big name player in Pitt basketball history.
Ladies and gentlemen, we recognize inductee Charlie Hyatt. Thank you. Our next honorees, the Peary family, represent a family legacy of greatness.
We've heard the phrase, all in the family. Well, that's wrestling's greatest family.
The Pearys, the first family of Pitt wrestling.
The Peary family started the tradition of Pitt wrestling.
Their name is synonymous with everything we strive for here within our wrestling program: excellence. Rex served as Pitt's head wrestling coach from 1949 to 65. His winning percentage of 72.5 is still the highest in Pitt wrestling history.
He was always a demonstrator. If he was going to teach you a new hold, it was always by demonstration.
Hugh was a three-time national champion and three-time All-American from 1952 to 54.
Hugh, when he wrestled, it was an art. He was more artistic about how he wrestled, very serious about it, but artistic. Ed was a bull in the china cabinet wrestler.
Ed was a three-time national champion and three-time All-American.
We never had carpet in the center of the living room. We only had the threads left because every night when they got home, they got another wrestling workout.
What the Peary family did for Pitt wrestling was very impressive, and I think it kind of gets lost of how rare their feats are, with Ed and Hugh being both three-time national champions and their father being the coach. That's a pretty special thing.
9 NCAA titles in one family. I think that it was a sense of family pride because we had all worked together to get that accomplished.
There have been national champions here after them, and there have been good teams after them, but it all started with the Peary family.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Peary family joining us tonight is Ann Peary-Ritter, Marty Milliken, and Cindy Moss, representing the Peary family. Once again, the Peary family. Our next Hall of Fame inductee is Joe Schmidt. Schmidt earned the highest of accolades at both the collegiate and professional levels.
Joe Schmidt was one tough football player from Brentwood. Smart, strong, tough, very aggressive, fearless.
I just thought, playing football was the greatest thing in the world, and especially going to Pitt Stadium.
Joe Schmidt established the prototype for what middle linebackers are supposed to be. Tough, but smart, hard-nosed, and leaders.
He had that knack of being where the ball was. He just had a God-given ability.
Very dangerous to come across the middle for passes against Joe.
He was a hitter, and I mean Joe would hit you.
Played through an array of injuries as a collegian, played under a number of different coaching changes, but it never deterred him, and as a senior, he was a first-team All-American.
Joe Schmidt set a tone for this program. He didn't have great teams around him, but certainly his greatness proved itself in the college game. The fact that he stood on the steps at Canton, Ohio, kind of tells you what kind of player he was.
I played football because I really enjoyed it. If I could be playing today, I'd still be playing.
There is nothing that football could bestow upon him that he already doesn't have, and he is a very proud Pitt Panther.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Schmidt. He is unable to be in attendance tonight, receiving the award in honor his nephew, Bob Schmidt. Thank you, Bob, in honor of Uncle Joe Schmidt. Our next Hall of Famer, Laurie Johnson, is the all-time career scoring leader in Pitt basketball.
Lori Johnson was a terrific all-around basketball player. Did everything well. No weaknesses in her game.
She had a whole repertoire of things that she could do on the court. Because she can handle, she can pass, she can score. And then she'd go in and get some rebounds.
Lori Johnson was one of the most prolific players in collegiate women's basketball, let alone here at the University of Pittsburgh. Her accomplishments are historic.
Lori Johnson being one of our greatest basketball players, men or women, that's beyond dispute. Lori is the all-time leading scorer in Pitt basketball history, men or women, with 2,312 points. And she has the distinction of being the first women's basketball player at Pitt to have her jersey number retired.
There was always that moment that Lori was probably the best player on the floor. Anytime we played anybody, didn't matter who it was. She's such a dominating player, and she also made her teammates better. She wanted to win, she wanted to get better, and that was important to her. And once we got the better players in here with her, she also saw that she could become that type of player that could elevate their game too. Lori was very much outgoing, I would say, both on and off the court. She did everything to the best of her ability, no matter what it was. I think if she was playing checkers with one of her teammates, she'd want to win. You know, she just wants to win at everything she did. She wanted to get better, and she would do whatever it took to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lori Johnson. Once again, Lori Johnson. Congratulations, Lori. Our next inductee, Najuma Fletcher, simply one of the best.
Pitt, across all of its sports, has so many decorated and accomplished athletes. At the top of that list, Najuma Fletcher absolutely would be in that category.
When you talk about world-class athletes or national caliber athletes, they're very competitive people.
She was a pretty fierce competitor. She hated to lose, and she would fight hard not to lose.
I tell my kids all the time, winning is fun, competing is great, and winning is fun.
Najuma performed in the high jump, the long jump, the triple jump, and the heptathlon. And she had All-American status in all of those events.
And when you go to look at the school records, you're going to see Najuma all over them, and it's incredible.
Najuma was a 14-time first-team All-American at Pitt. She won 6 Big East championships, and Najuma became the first woman in Pitt history to win an individual NCAA track title.
When she steps on the runway, you can see the focus, the intensity coming out, and then it's speed to power. And she had good speed, but she had even greater power.
I represented Guyana in the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona, Spain. This was definitely the pinnacle. It was a very special experience that I will always treasure.
Najuma had international level ability, and she was so talented and so strong. She was so graceful when she performed. She was the Big East Scholar Athlete of the Year when she was a senior. And while she was doing that, she was majoring in mechanical engineering, and she did so well that she was immediately admitted into the MBA program here at Pitt and got her MBA the following year.
She's one of Pitt's all-time greats, no question about it.
Be able to look now and reflect on that has been really cool, because now you can really tell the kids, you see me, I did do that, and you know, your mama wasn't so bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're honored to welcome Najuma Fletcher. Najuma Fletcher. Our next Hall of Famer, Jimbo Covert, was a fixture on Pitt's punishing offensive fronts from 1980 to 1982.
Jimbo Covert, now there was a guy who was graceful and powerful. And you hear coaches talk about the great offensive linemen. They have great feet. Their bodies are always in position to make the block, and that's what Jimbo did very well.
Very dedicated to his craft, coachable. Dan Marino had so much time in the pocket because of Jimbo Covert and Mark May and those other players.
He is one of the reasons I look so good today, so thank you, Jimbo, because I never used to get hit off my left side because of Jimbo Covert at left tackle, and one of my best friends on earth. I love the guy.
Colin McIntyre for the Panther touchdown. Jimbo Covert, he was blocking a couple of folks. Panther offensive line with a good job on the drive. Jimbo Covert nearest you.
Jimbo was a 3-year starter on our offensive lines. During those 3 years, he only gave up 3 sacks, including his senior year when he didn't give up a single sack. Basically, Dan Marino could stand back there like a statue with that type of protection.
Please welcome to the field, Jimbo Covert. The University of Pittsburgh is honored to retire your number 75 jersey.
I'm so glad when Heather came here that they established this Pitt Hall of Fame. It was kind of interesting that we never did that before, right? So when they called me and told me I was in, I said, well, what a great experience, right? And to have that type of achievement, to say that, you know, look how many years of Pitt football, right? Pitt sports, to be involved in that kind of a Hall of Fame type of a thing is pretty cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jimbo Covert. Jimbo Covert, a highly regarded prep football prospect, Lee McRae went on to become one of the Panthers' most accomplished track athletes from 1984 to 1988.
Lee McRae, I went to shake his hand and he disappeared. And I'm sure that's what he looked like to opponents in the starting blocks of a 100-meter race.
Lee McRae, that man was fast. He was an incredible talent.
When you talk about Lee McRae's running style, I think it was just pure power. When it was time to put the spikes on and go to work, there was nobody that could touch him. When I saw him on television or when I saw him at meets, his start was incredible.
And off the start, it's Karate and McRae and
Lee McRae, a Pitt man, held perhaps the most prestigious title in all the world. He was the fastest guy on the planet.
All the races were probably going to be the same. He was going to be the quickest out of the blocks. If you get out like that and you're that powerful, it's going to be tough to catch.
Lee earned 7 first-team All-America citations and 4 NCAA titles.
When you have somebody who's a sophomore at the University of Pittsburgh was able to break Carl Lewis's record, that's pretty special.
Lee was also accomplished on the international stage, winning the gold medal in the 100 meters at the 1987 Pan American Games.
Not the biggest guy in the world, and didn't have the long stride that some of those sprinters do develop, but by gosh, he could pick them up and lay them down with anybody.
What more could that guy have done in the world of track and in the world of sprinting? He was just an incredible talent.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lee McRae. Lee McRae. Next up, an impenetrable offensive tackle. Mark May's number 73 jersey is retired by the University of Pittsburgh.
Mark May, quick feet, strong, smart player.
Huge when he played. I mean, you know, he was 6'6", he might even be bigger than that. He's got like size 18 shoe or whatever. I mean, he's a monster. And long arms and just a tremendous athlete.
And Mark May, just a junior, 6'5", 280, could very well next season be the best offensive lineman in the country.
During his Pitt career, Mark earned the nickname Mayday. If the team was in distress, you had a third or fourth and short, you're going behind number 73.
McMillan, back of Jones, nice and touchdown.
As a senior in 1980, Mark anchored our offensive line. He was the first winner in Pitt history of the prestigious Outland Trophy.
One of many great Pitt offensive linemen during that era.
It was pretty obvious. He was verbal enough to take his football career and extend it into the booth. And he did it with a lot of class and a lot of dignity, and was always a great salesman for the University of Pittsburgh.
As a matter of fact, one of your colleagues here, Mark May, he was out on campus the year that I won the Heisman Trophy, and I threatened him. I told him, you must come to the University of Pittsburgh, even though he's twice my size, and he believed me, man. He knew I would do something bad to him if he didn't come, but it's people like the Mark Mays and the Larry Fitzgeralds that help build your program and bring it back to prominence, which we're on our way back to now.
Just a good friend, happy for him to be in the Pitt Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Mark.
Please welcome Hall of Famer Mark May. Mark May. Don Hennon is one of the most prolific scorers in the history of Pitt basketball.
Hennon had an interesting career and background since he was coached by his father, L. Butler Hennon, at Wampum High School. But he came here and hit the town like a storm.
And oftentimes he would score almost as many points as the entire opposition put together. You know, he just could dominate the game, and oftentimes he just said, okay, give me the ball, I'll show you how to get points on the board, and he got them.
Don Hennon, one of the most prolific scorers in Pitt basketball history. This guy averaged more than 24 points per game. There wasn't even a three-point line back then.
I mean, he was a sort of a short, stocky build, but had all the moves, a terrific shooter, hook shots, jump shots, spinning moves.
Diminutive Don has a full repertoire of shots. In slow motion, we get a good look at number 25, Deadly Hook, a shot that's almost impossible to stop.
And he could shoot with both hands, would go in against taller players. He knew how to protect the ball, get it up off the glass. He was a pretty special player.
A little before his time, his style of play. It was kind of something, like that today is the norm, but back then it wasn't.
Don Hennon, for 62 years, has held Pitt's single-game scoring record. It was a 45-point outburst against Duke in 1957.
Bino Cook came up with the idea to pose Dr. Jonas Salk, the inventor of the polio vaccine, and Don Hennon, and the caption was Pitt's two greatest shot makers.
Don Hennon, during his career, was not only one of the most accomplished basketball players ever at Pitt, but he was one of the most accomplished basketball players in the entire country. I love this. He could have gone and played professionally in the NBA. What did he decide to do? Go to medical school.
Ladies and gentlemen, Don Hennon. Don Hennon. Thank you. Next up, we have Sue Heon, who set new standards of greatness for Pitt swimming during her remarkable career.
Sue truly set the highest of standards for Pitt swimming. She was an All-American as an individual. She was an All-American as a part of relay teams. And she even went on to represent the United States in the 1984 Olympics.
Her talent level was wonderful, but maybe more importantly was her work ethic and her focus and her ability to always be better.
I never saw her fail. She succeeded everything I saw her do.
She was a very intense, focused, competitive athlete.
As hard as she worked in the pool, she was very energetic outside the pool. Her nickname, Bubbles.
Sue Heon was an 11-time All-American, earning national accolades in each season of her collegiate career.
Sue has 7 Pitt school records and was an 11-time Big East champion.
I told her that if she came back to finals and became an All-American, that I would shave my beard.
The next day, we had a team meeting when the team returned, and there was a strange man sitting in the front of our room, and sure enough, it was Coach Belowich with no beard.
You made me a better coach. I hope I made you a little bit better swimmer, but mostly it was you.
She was just incredible at how she approached every day, just willing to go as hard as she could go.
Please welcome Hall of Famer Sue Heon. Sue Heon. Our next inductee, John Majors, will forever be remembered as the architect of Pitt's 9th football national title.
When Pitt hired Johnny Majors, he brought an attitude, pride, and enthusiasm that this program, this school had been lacking for too long.
He changed the culture in Pitt football, and he made people believe that we could win big in football, and he did it fast.
Johnny Majors was the ultimate PR man.
We owe Coach Majors thanks for bringing the iconic Pitt script to life.
Welcome to the Johnny Majors Show.
Coach Johnny Majors, it's not certain for sure yet, but I kind of think the pollsters will say that the Pitt Panthers this week are number 1.
But I would think by all means, I see no reason why we wouldn't be ranked number 1.
He had so much personality and charisma. He knew how to cultivate relationships with the media and with alumni, with booster clubs, with prominent people who could be of benefit to his program. He was very smart in that regard, and he enjoyed doing that.
I believe he was one of the best teachers I ever had in the sense of life. When you think you can't go any further, Coach Majors has pushed us to go to the next level.
John was never a man who lived in his fears. He'd always be willing to try something different to surprise the opposition and put them back on their heels. Halftime of the Penn State game, all of a sudden Tony Dorsett became a fullback. It put the Lions back on their heels. And I'm not going to say that the Lions were as good as Pitt that year. I don't think anybody in the country was.
He came to Pitt following a 1-10 season in 1972, and 4 years later, his 4th season at Pitt, 12-0 national champions. I don't know that any school, any coach has ever done anything to match that.
When he came here, he transformed this whole program, and that was the foundation of Pitt football moving forward. So that's what we all aspire to from what those guys did in '76.
Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Johnny Majors. National Championship Coach Johnny Majors. Last but surely not least, we have Sam Clancy, one of the city of Pittsburgh's greatest all-time athletes.
Sam Clancy from day one was a starter, was a leader, and a force for the Pitt basketball program.
He was at once graceful and bruising.
For as strong and as bullish as his build was, he could also show the finesse of a small forward or shooting guard.
And he could get up and down the court as quick as guards.
Here come the Panthers. Clancy on the break.
My mom and dad taught me to appreciate the game, and no matter what we do, to appreciate whatever you're doing. And at this time it was basketball. To have this honor, I think about them because, and excuse me if I get a little sentimental, because I know what it took for me to get here, and I know what they sacrificed for me to have this success.
You know, he made crucial baskets, played in big games. I remember the game he had against Mike Jaminski when Pitt played at Duke in 1979, and he taught Jaminski a lesson, and winning it on the road for the Panthers.
Sam Bam Clancy, in my opinion, one of the greatest athletes, if not the greatest athlete ever to come out of the boundary of the city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Jackie Sherrill tried to get him to come out for football. One of the things Sherrill always emphasized to Clancy was there aren't any 6'6" centers in the NBA. Sam, your future is in football. And it turned out to be true.
Sam played 12 seasons of professional football. We all know about his stints with the Cleveland Browns and the Indianapolis Colts, but he also was the MVP of the USFL's Pittsburgh Maulers in their lone season of existence.
Big Sam Clancy.
I love Pitt. I'm a Pitt guy through and through. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, grew up on Pitt football, basketball, baseball, soccer, everything. And to come back to the University of Pittsburgh and see that people still think of me the same way as when I was here in school. That's why I love about it.
People will always think of you as Hall of Famer Sam Clancy. Ladies and gentlemen, the University of Pittsburgh proudly presents the 2019 Pitt Athletics Hall of Fame class. And now, it's my honor to turn it over to my broadcast partner, Bill Hillgrove, for a little Q&A.
I like Q&A, only because I've been around these folks for their careers, and what a treasure it is for me. Sam Clancy, was it inevitable that a kid from Fifth Avenue High School would make that long journey up the hill to the University of Pittsburgh to play basketball? What do you remember about that decision?
Well, I remember that Coach Gergely spent the days at my house. It was easy, believe me. And I came here because, for one, I didn't want to move away because my mom she would have found a way, even though financially we might have been able to travel to every away game, but she would have found a way to get there. You know, just as she sacrificed for me to have the success, she'd have found a way to get there. And I want to take my hat off to Coach Gergely and Tom Booth, who had the driver of most of those away games. Appreciate it, Tom. Thank you very much, man. To get her to those games, though, but Cleve Edwards, Fifth Avenue High School grad, played ball here. The late, great Cleve Edwards just passed away last month. I wanted to come up here, and I wanted to be another city leader that's coming here playing for University of Pittsburgh. And I grew up 15 minutes from here, walking distance, and I just want to be part of it.
Was it harder scoring 1,000 points and grabbing 1,000 rebounds as a college basketball player, or playing defensive end in the National Football League?
Well, football is definitely harder. And I'm gonna tell you why. Basketball, I was a man among boys. All right. I mean,
No argument here.
Hey, I mean, I was like a bully on the court. But when I got to the NFL, you know, Jimbo, Mark May, you know, was a little skinny basketball guy. Now I had to become a man. So it definitely was harder learning how to play the professional level. And matter of fact, it took me a couple years to get my feet wet and stop getting that helmet put up under my chin.
Trivia question. What 12-year pro football veteran had more career rebounds than Patrick Ewing? Sam Clancy.
Thank you.
John Majors, what convinced you that you should be at the University of Pittsburgh rather than Iowa State?
Excuse me.
Yes.
You always pretty well try to take charge of the TV show when we were working together. I have a little more difficult hearing right now than I did then. What was your question, please, sir?
Why Pitt?
What about Pitt?
Why?
Why
did you come here?
I don't know, but I'm that blame glad I did. But why I came here, to be frank with you, I knew something about the University of Pittsburgh, not going way back, but I knew they had a history. And I was head coach at Iowa State University. And it's a very nice little college town. But Iowa State was competing against Nebraska, Colorado, and Oklahoma every year. And we finally got to where we could do decently. And my last year there, we tied 2 of them, and I think beat 1 or 2 of them. And it was very hard to win the Big 8 conference. And I was called in here. In fact, Sam Shulo's father called me quite a few times, and Bob Miller, a great Pitt supporter, called me nearly every week during my last season at Iowa State. I finally told him, please don't call me till late week, because I got to get prepared for our games. So Bob Miller really influenced me to come here, and he was representing Chancellor Posvar and Kazman Zelinsky, the athletic directors. I didn't know much about them, but as a little boy growing up in Lynchburg, Tennessee, home of Jack Daniels Distillery.
I knew that.
I figured you did. I figured you did. Oh, for crying out loud, let me get serious here. But when I was a senior in college, I happened to make the All-American team, and Joe Walton won it. At Pitt made the All-American team, and I saw him 2 or 3 times on our trips to New York to be on TV. And I knew that they had a good football team in 1956. And so that kind of tweaked my interest when they called me, Bob Miller. And finally, I decided to come to visit. And when I was a kid in Lynchburg, my favorite team was Army, West Point. 1944, 45, 46. I was 9, 10, 11 years old. And it went all the way across the country, the broadcasting system. I never failed an Army-Navy game, even though Vanderbilt and Tennessee are in the state. Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside, Glenn Davis, Mr. Outside, number 4. Doc Blanchard was number 35. Mr. Inside, the fullback. I loved Army. I pulled for him everywhere against Pennsylvania, and on and on. So when I heard that Dr. Posvar, graduate, and Kazman Zelinsky was captain in 1943 of the Army-Navy game, no, Army team, Army, when Davis and Blanchard were freshmen. That kind of tweaked my interest too, because I love that. And when I came to visit, I had a great visit, and I liked the chancellor. I liked the chancellor, and I liked Kazman Zelinsky. Kaz was Polish, and another thing, I came up here and I'd never been around much ethnic differences where I grew up. But I'm gonna tell you, one of the greatest things of my whole life when I took this job, I had Italian friends, Jewish friends, German. I've got a German friend out here, Eddie Ift, one of my greatest friends. Eddie Ift he's a Catholic. He's Irish Catholic. And John Conemax, my great friend, ran the TV station New York, WTAE. And we were great golfing buddies. And we stayed up occasionally at least till midnight and talked about football. I got a lot of advice from them. They're here tonight, and they know they were a big factor in our winning. I didn't listen to everything they did, but I listened to a lot. But on Saturdays, I made my own decisions. But I'm going to tell you, it was one of the greatest experiences of my whole life. I mean, I told you all those different friends I had. Everybody had a little different humor. That's one of the 5 greatest years of my life. I don't know why I ever left here. I tell you why. I never did very well in math in high school or college. I don't know why I left here.
Well, you went 12-0.
I worked 2
January 1st, 1977.
What was that now?
Clock hits zeros at the Superdome.
What was that now?
Pitt is undefeated national championships. What was going through your mind as your players hoisted you on their shoulders and took you off that New Orleans, Louisiana field?
Green.
Lower your hand. If you lower your hand, the mic will work.
If I do what?
It's magic.
My dictation is pretty decent, but my lingo is not too good. Coming from Lynchburg is not too good. So now.
What was your thought process as your players had them on their shoulders?
Well, it was so exciting, and I was so exciting, and my family, my friends, some of them here tonight, we went out after the game, and we stayed up close to daylight, and I went back to Tennessee and went home. But I knew it was one of the greatest times of my life, something that I'd always dreamed about, winning the national championship. I won at Arkansas last year there, and a head coach who won. And such a great, it was so receptive, and it's so fun, exciting. Everywhere I went, I loved Pittsburgh. And I don't know really what I thought, but I was very excited and very happy. I don't want to malinger and waste a lot of time, but it was just those 5 years were the greatest experience of my whole adult life.
John Majors. Sue Heon, your Pitt career filled with so many highlights and achievements, 11 All-America citations, 11 Big East titles, countless school records. Reflecting back, what about your Pitt career makes you so proud?
Probably all of it. Looking back, I think a big part of it was being part of the team and being part of a community where we were able to support each other and achieve goals together.
Describe the feeling of wearing the red, white, and blue while representing this great nation in the 1984 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles.
This goes back to when I was 10 years old. I told my parents I was going to make the Olympic team someday. And sure enough, 1984 rolled around and I made the team.
Dreams do come true. Sue Heon.
That is something I was very fortunate today to have the opportunity to talk to the men's and women's swim team. And one of the things I failed to tell them was, I'm living proof that dreams do come true, and that with hard work and dedication and discipline, your dreams will come true. And I just hope that I spoke to some of the swimmers today at the event here. I just hope they take that back to their team, letting them know that they met somebody who had a dream as a 10-year-old, and that dream came true 12 years later.
Sue Heon. Don Hennon remains as one of the most prolific scorers here at the University of Pittsburgh, averaging nearly 25 points a game, and that was without the three-point line. What was it about your game, Dr. Hennon, that made you such an offensive threat?
Well, I think you have to put the ball in the basket, that's for sure. But I don't know, when I look back at the games that I played, I think one of the things that you have to have as a basketball player, whether you're tall, whether you're short, you have to have a good ability to shoot, and you have to be quick. They always said you had to be real fast, but I really don't think it's as important as being quick.
Amen. You ultimately chose a career in medicine over the NBA. What influenced that decision?
Well, a lot of people have asked me, do I have any regrets because I didn't try to go and play professional basketball, but who knows, I may not even been able to make a professional basketball team, but I went to the School of Medicine, I became a doctor, I then became a surgeon, I took care of my fellow men and helped them, I hope, a lot. So what regrets could I have? I can't have any regrets for that.
Back when Don played at Wampum High School in Beaver County, the WPIAL format for playoff games was sudden death. Wampum was playing Jackson Center, and the head coach at Jackson Center was the late, great Fran Webster, who was on our staff here under Buzz Riddle. And Fran told me the story that Wampum had a 6'6" guy who never played a minute in the regulation, but we go to overtime, and he came out and tipped the ball to Hennon, who promptly made a 20-foot hook shot, and the game was over. The great Don Hennon.
Thank you.
Mark May, my partner in the booth for several years, but when he came out of Oneonta, New York, to the University of Pittsburgh on a recruiting trip, he was hosted by the kid that wore number 33, Tony Dorsett. Yeah. What was that like?
It was awesome. And actually, there were three of us. So it was Hugh Green, Ricky Jackson, and myself, with Jake Parrish, Cecil Johnson, and Tony. And Tony said, we don't take recruits. You guys better send your ass to Pittsburgh and go there. We all did, and we all made either the College Hall of Fame or the National Football League Hall of Fame.
Mark, your sophomore year ended with that loss to NC State in the Tangerine Bowl. What was the guy's name, the running back Brown? Is that Teddy?
Teddy Brown.
Teddy Brown, and a guy named Bill Cower, I think, was one of the linebackers. Jackie Sherrill gathered you and a small group of your underclassmen at the hotel in Orlando, and you went on to lose only 2 games the rest of your careers. What was Jackie's message?
At the time, Jimmy Johnson and half the staff had left and gone to Oklahoma State, and we didn't have a great practice week, and I remember Jackie bringing us all into a suite and saying, this is your team now, you guys take it over, you're going to decide where this football team goes from this point on. And those words really instilled a lot of confidence in all of us, and I think that was key for us to turn it around because we went 22-2 the next year.
Right, 3 losses in the next 3 years, one of the greatest Pitt eras ever. Mark May.
Thank you.
Lee McRae, you grew up in Pembroke, North Carolina. Your first loves were football and baseball. I'm told that you suddenly embraced track and field as your top sport. What was going on there?
Well, my baseball coach didn't want me to play the position I wanted to play. And I didn't want to go home after school, so I said I'd try track and field.
You broke Carl Lewis' 55-meter indoor world record by finishing in a blazing 6 seconds. What was it like to be known as the fastest man in the world?
the fastest man in the world. I think my mother was the fastest woman in the world. But it was great. It was me growing up. I got from both sides of the family, my mom and my dad. My mom had the speed, and my dad had the agility. And my dad used to drill me. Playing in the backyard, he was the type, but you can't beat me. And I'm saying, yes, I can. And I always said, one day I will, if I keep getting bigger. And sure enough, that day came, and I never looked back. I said, if I can beat my dad, I can beat anybody.
Lee McRae, why Pitt?
Tony Dorsett. Point blank.
Lee McRae, fastest man in the world. Jimbo Covert, Freedom, Pennsylvania. You began your career on the defensive side of the ball. What did the legendary offensive line coach Joe Moore say that convinced you that you should be on that side of the ball?
Well, Joe tried to get me switched a couple times. Mark and Coach Sherrill know a lot of the stories behind that, but you know.
It'll be in the book.
Yeah, it'll be in the book. But anyway, when I played offense in high school, in both ways in high school, and then when I came here, I played defense. And then when they wanted to switch me to offense, I was a little anxious and a little bit nervous because I really didn't play the position for a couple 3 years. And when I had my first practice at offensive line, after the practice, Joe Moore said to me, he goes, "You're going to be an All-American someday." And when someone says something like that to you, you could run through a brick wall for the guy. He could have said anything, but I think he's the greatest offensive line coach that ever lived. So I was lucky to play for the guy.
No argument here. You were started at left tackle for the Bears from day one. What about your Pitt experience that enabled you to step into that challenging role?
Well, I think because I had such great coaching, and with Coach Sherrill and Coach Moore. I went in there, and I think Mark will say the same thing. We were way more prepared than a lot of guys that came in as rookies, just because that's the way we were coached. And I think a lot of guys come in, they can maybe run block, they really can't pass block very well. And with Danny, we threw so much. It was really a lot better for me to come in, and I had a great opportunity to play right away, so it was good.
The great Jimbo Covert.
Thank you.
And this is off format. Someday he will stand on the steps of Canton. Now, Juma Fletcher, what were the circumstances that led an international class athlete from Guyana to attend the University of Pittsburgh?
A lot of things fell into place at the right time. Growing up in Guyana, the whole NCAA recruiting process wasn't something that we were very familiar with. But competing internationally and around the Caribbean, there were some U.S. college coaches that attended those meets and did some recruiting there. So those were the ones I reached out to when I graduated high school. Of course, it was too late at that point to get into school for the fall. But I just happened to, one of the coaches that I reached out to didn't have a scholarship then, but knew Coach Lewis. And talked to Coach about me, and Coach reached out, told me about Pitt, told me about the strong tradition that's here, and just explained about the engineering program that was here. And it was going to be freezing cold, but with all those things, a year later I did enroll at Pitt, and it really was one of the best decisions of my life.
Your status is unique. One of the most decorated athletes in the history of the University of Pittsburgh, regardless of sport or era. Looking back, how does it feel to hold such a lofty place in Pitt athletic history?
It's incredible. It's amazing. It's humbling to be a part of just on stage with all of these greats, seeing their videos, knowing of their accomplishments. It's really an honor. I know all of us have said and spoke of the people who have helped us get here. And it's not only our accomplishments, but the people behind it, whether it was the administration, our families. We ran into Donna Sant and Donna Sloan and Ron Brown, and those are names that, as we've come through Pitt, just the people that were there to help you every step of the way. So it's an amazing feeling, it's humbling, and I'm very thankful and proud to be a part of this.
Najuma Fletcher. Ladies and gentlemen, I am humbled, but I am honored to present to you the class of 2019, the University of Pittsburgh Athletic Hall of Fame.
Congratulations. And let's thank Bill Hillgrove, again in his 51st season as the voice of the Panther basketball team, and 46 for Pitt football. And before anyone moves, I've got great Pitt news. Pitt's volleyball team beat number 4 Penn State 3-0. Wait, it gets better. It's the first sweep of Penn State at Penn State by any team since 1986. And the first Pitt win against Penn State since 1981. It's a good night. And they'll be here Sunday, right here at the Pitt. Meanwhile, we're accepting nominations for the 2020 Hall of Fame. Details and nomination information found online at pittsburghpanthers.com under the athletics menu at the top of the site. So as we conclude tonight's program, we thank you for participating and your support on a very special evening. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow at Heinz Field as the University of Pittsburgh Panthers host the 15th ranked UCF Knights. 3:30 kickoff. Be there early. Hail to Pitt. Thank you.